This is a quick video tutorial to demonstrate how easy it is to create a PoweredLocal Guest Wi-Fi networks and PoweredLocal mesh networks remotely onto one of your client's UniFi network configurations. In order to get started, you'll need access to three things. Your client's PoweredLocal dashboard, which should look a little bit like this. Your client's UniFi controller, so you need your credentials, you need login and passwords for that. And also your partner portal on ramo.poweredlocal.com, which should look a little bit like this. If you don't have this, contact us and we'll set you up. So go ahead and open all three of them up in a browser. The first thing you'd want to do is log on to your client's UniFi controller. Go onto their wireless network tab on the left. In order to do that, you'd need to go on to settings first and then wireless networks. Once you're there, you want to make sure that there's enough space to create either one or two networks. If you want to create a guest network and a PoweredLocal mesh network, you need to have less than 3 networks showing up here, because the max number of networks you can have on a particular wireless LAN group is 4. So if you've already got 3 networks, you can't create 2 networks. You can only create the one. So you can either create the mesh network in this wireless LAN group, or you could create the guest Wi-Fi network in this wireless LAN group. For the sake of this video, I'm working with a brand new sort of controller in a way. There's no networks created. As you can see, there's also no guest control policies. If you go to guest control policies, this is what it should roughly look like. Also, there are no radius profiles. It's just the default, the ones that are there. So once we're done with this, you'd see all of this would automatically just sort of show up with PoweredLocal settings. So that now what we want to do is, once you've confirmed that there's enough space, you go into the PoweredLocal dashboard for your client. You'd want to create a new page, which looks a bit like this. This side. Let's go edit it. Give it a memorable name. Bear in mind, this is the page that the end users at your client's venues, the patrons, the customers will see. So you want to make this as memorable as possible. Maybe put a nice logo, stuff like that. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to give it a nice, easy name to remember. So try and change the page nickname. Choose dark theme because that's what I prefer. Click on save, and you see there's a brand new page here. So now what you want to do is go onto the portal, go into the client's pages, and you'd see the brand new page that you've just created. At the moment, the hardware says native. What you want to do is change the type by clicking on the little down arrow there. Change it to Ubiquiti, and you'd have a third box that pops up, a third button that pops up. Click on the button, and this is where you would put in your client's controller, UniFi controller login details, including the controller URL. So in my case, it is just the first part before any of the routes, but you need the full route, full URL, so you pop that in. And chat, you click on update. If these settings have been entered correctly, you should see a green ribbon up top that says successfully updated settings. If either of these are incorrect in any way, it'll come up with an error message. Now, I've gone and logged myself in using exactly these credentials into here. Now, the next step is you go into back into here, and once you've done this correctly, you should see another button that pops up called Sites and Networks. This is where you put in a little bit more information in order to set up your configuration properly. Hopefully by now you know what site you want to create these networks in. If you don't, the list of available sites can be found in the controller. I've got 2 here. I'm selecting my test site, and these sites should show up in this drop-down menu here. So I want to create a In AJ test site, I want to create my network under the wireless LAN group called default. So let's give it a name. So go AJ free Wi-Fi. And I also want to create the mesh network, which is here. I could create a yes or no. I want to create it, so no yes. And I also want to create the mesh network in the default wireless LAN group. Go ahead and click on update. Give it a few seconds. If everything goes smoothly, you should see that. And it also says, please wait for all access points on the controller to be provisioned before updating the database. We'll get to that in a minute. Technically, most of the work is done. You go back into the controller. You'll see in the wireless networks, we've got both the networks that we asked to create. Both of these ones, which is the mesh network and the wireless network, you'd see them here. You'd also go in if you go into guest control, you should see a bunch of policies that PoweredLocal needs in order to authorize end users. And also you've got a newly created sort of a radius profile that this mesh network needs in order to work properly. And now going back into the dashboard, the last step that we need to do is refresh databases. Now, depending on when you see this, when you watch this video, this button might be called sync access points. So they both technically will do the same thing. We will be rolling that up, that change to that button name in a future update. So if you're seeing this anytime in the near future, you might see a different button here called sync all access points or sync access points. What this essentially does is it gets, let me quickly show you. If you go into your controller, you go to devices, you've got this access point that is currently being provisioned with the newly created settings in the controller. What we want to do is make sure that you wait until this goes from provisioning to connected before you click on the refresh database or sync access points button, because what it's going to do is essentially it's going to get a bunch of data about these access points and the networks that we've just created and write it to our databases. So we're just going to wait until this is finished, and I might just pause the video here and come back to you guys once this says connected. As you can see, our access point has been now provisioned and it says connected. The basic difference is if you go into the access point and click on it, you just click on it just there, this little sort of menu should pop up on the right-hand side. You scroll all the way down to the wireless LANs or WLANs section, and you'd see our newly created networks. Bear in mind, you've got BSSIDs and ESSIDs. These form a part of the data that we need to make sure that your end users can authenticate correctly. So along with the BSSIDs and ESSIDs, we also get the MAC address. All of this is done automatically when you click on refresh database or sync all access points. So let's go ahead and click on that button. And it looks like everything's gone through correctly, and you're almost done. So finally, you go into the customer's PoweredLocal dashboard, go into location and devices, and you should see the brand new network that we created, along with the devices that have been provisioned. So the main device that was provisioned was the main access point, but the BSSIDs have been assigned to these two here. And that's the end of it, really. At this point, now one of your clients' patrons or customers should be able to go into a venue and seamlessly log on to their UniFi configuration via PoweredLocal settings. Thank you.